All right, question 1 says 2/3 square is equal to what? So basically, to square 2/3 would mean that 2/3 must be. So we're looking at 4/9, and the answer is right there. The second question says what percentage of 340 is 450? And this is the one, whenever you get is go on top. So whenever you're doing this, we're dealing with percentage. The off is the bottom part. The off goes at the bottom. The is goes on top. So in this case, you're talking 425 over 340. So it's not about which number is bigger. It's just about the context or the narrative. Off goes at the bottom, is goes at the top. You're not using a calculator. So basically, there are some ideas that you want to employ. For example, you want to understand that 340 is 100% because it is at the bottom. So obviously, you can see that this question is more than 100% you're dealing with. So there are two answers here that are actually off. They're not a part of this. So it's either 125% or 150. But you can employ subtraction to help you. For example, if we say 425 and we take out that 340 from it, right? So 425, and you take away 340, you're left with 85. Now, what this 85 is the remaining part, as in the extra piece, because this 340 is equivalent to 100% already. So basically what we're left with is 85 over 340. And we want to know whether this is more than 50% or it's less than 50. You would pick that. Because this is a multiple choice exam where we are certain that this is incorrect, that is incorrect. So it's either C or D. Now, one is 25, one is 50. 50 as in 52, which is more than 50. Now, so you can quickly look at it and realize that, guess what? 85 is less than a half of 340. So the fact that it is less than a half, it simply means that it could not be 52% more. So the answer is going to be simply 125 without working. So the idea of a multiple choice is that you want to see the things that cannot. So it's called a process of elimination. So currently you don't have to work out the right answer. You just need to eliminate what cannot be the answer. All right. So from that, we did this. All right. Now, if you'd never wanted to do that, you would have run into some little issues. For example, let us say that you're working it out the regular way, which is what you're not required to do in a multiple choice most times. You might end up with some decimals. For example, 0 cancels 0 there, and you're probably saying 2 into this 17, 2 into this 5. And here's the problem. It's going to be difficult to be working out that 17 and stuff like that, when all you have to do is to understand the value of percentage and to understand that it's not an exam where you're showing working. So they're going to set up the question so that the answers will come easily. All right. So basically, C is the right fit. Number 3. Number 3 says, Anne and Betty shared a sum of money in the ratio 2:3 and received $120. What was Betty's share? Anne and Betty. So the two parts would have linked to Anne, because Anne and Betty. So 2 is for Anne. All right. So basically what you want to do is to, there are a number of ways you could figure out this. All right. You can figure out this. But if you understand that the two parts right now is $120, then you could simply say, all right, one part, we're going to do this 2 ways. You could say one part is that 120 divided by 2, and you get 60. And then now, you want to find Betty's part, you can multiply by 3, and you now get 180, and then you pick this as the answer. Well, so if you really understand yourself, you could have said 3 over 2 times 120, and it would have given you the answer as soon as you work it out. For example, 2 into itself 1 time, 2 into 120, 60. 60 times 3, you get the same 180, right? So, I mean, whichever way you feel comfortable working these, the answers will come quick enough. All right. For this one, I'm going to show you the idea behind this. 12.5%. You need to remember this, that it is 1/8. So when we talk about 1/8 of something, so what I'm giving you are some tools that you use. All right. So they normally utilize these as well. So if you know the tools, you don't necessarily have to work. So 12.5% is the same thing as 1/8 of something. You understand? So what it means then, what it means if you divide up 100 into 12 into 8 equal pieces, you will get 12.5. So 1/8 is 12.5%. What we want to do is to use this to help us now to understand this. If they told us that 12.5% is 40, then you will use it to understand that they are indirectly saying 1/8 is equal to 40. So if I know that 1/8 is 40, and I want to find the total sum, I need 8 8s, which means that all I have to do is to say, oh, I need 8 8s. That means I need to multiply this by 8, and I will get 320 for the total, because 1/8 times 8 give you 8 parts out of the 8, and the answer would have been B right there. All right, number 5. So number 5 says the value of 29.94 times 0.5 is approximately what? So this is a question that's going to be resting on your approximation skills, right? Are you able to approximate easily? No, I would want you to focus on this decimal here. 0.5 is what we classify as a half. Now, 29.9 is approximately 30. So technically what you're thinking of is this idea. A half of 30 is close to which one of these? So definitely you would have seen that the answer is 15, because a half of 30 is close to 15, because they are not saying what is the exact value. They said approximately. So we're saying that 29.94 is almost 30, and a half of almost 30 is almost 15. So definitely 15 is the best answer there. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, in a school, the ratio of the number of pupils to the number of teachers is 20 to 1. So we're talking about 20 students to 1 student or person. If the number of pupils is 840, how many teachers are there? So for every 20 pupil, we're talking about 1 teacher. So then what we want to do is to divide this 840 by 20 to see how many teachers we will have. Definitely we would have worked out 42. So B is 42 teachers would have linked to 840 pupils. The largest prime number that is less than 100. So this is just something that you're going to remember. Remember, the idea of a prime number is that it has only two factors, 1 and itself. 91 is not a prime because a lot of numbers can go into 91. 13 can, 7 can. 93, you're seeing it's not a prime. 3 can, 9 can, 1 can. 99 is not a prime either. So 97 is the prime. Prime number only has two factors, 1 and itself. So the moment you can find another number apart from 1 or that number, then something is off. It's not a prime number. The highest common factor of 12, 15, and 60, which of these would be? And when we say the highest common factor, we're talking about what's the biggest number that is able to go into 12, 15, and 60 without leaving a remainder. The biggest number that could do that right now is 3, right? In the context of what we have there, 3 is a number that can go into those without a remainder. The biggest number right there. Number 9. By the distributive law, 49 times 17 plus 49 times 3 is the same as what? Remember that repeated addition is actually multiplication. And if you really listen to how this sounds, it says 49 times 17 plus 49 times 3. So you can employ a quick factorization to see what's going on. Common factor here is a 49. So we could say factorize out the 49. And you're left with 17 plus 3, which really means 49 times 20. And you look for that, the answer is D. All right. So you could employ a factorization for that and then look to see what is matching up with what you have. The value of the digit 5 in the number. So the value of the digit 5 in the number 537 is what? And a lot of times with a question like this, if you listen to yourself, you'd actually get the answer, because if you are asked to read this, you would say 537, 500. So you could say that the 5 is hundreds because you would say 500. So the value of it is actually 500. So if you should read out the figure, you're technically calling out the value of each digit as you try to read the figures. Which of the following set is equivalent to A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D? What's the idea surrounding equivalent set? Equivalent. When sets are equivalent, they actually have the same number of elements. That's all. So they would have the same number of elements. So in this set here, we're talking about we have 4 elements in it. So any set that has 4 elements is equivalent to this set. So with that said, the only answer that we have here is C, P, Q, R, S. So it's not about what is in there in terms of identical thing. We're talking about how many. It's the number of. All right, let's jump on to question 12. And this part is dealing with some sets. First question says, item 12, refers to the Venn diagram below. And we're looking at the Venn diagram where we're seeing that we have a P and a Q, where P, set P is not shaded. Everything else is shaded except set P. So the question says, in the Venn diagram, the shaded area represent what? So what is the shaded area represent? Well, you could say not P, right? And the fact that you're referring to not P, you're referring to what is called P complement. So P complement really is a P with that little comma up there. So that's the complement of P. All right. So the complement of P would be everything in the situation except P. And if you really look, you will realize that everything was shaded except P. So everything was shaded except P. So the idea is P complement. And the complement of P, or the complement of any set, is written with a little comma up there. Number 12. Number 13 says, if X and Y are two finite sets such that that little n refers to the number. So when you read this, you say the number of. So such that the number of elements in X is equal to 7. The number of elements in Y is equal to 5. And the number of elements that is in X intersect Y is 3. Then how many elements are the number of elements in the union? There is a general formula for set that we really want to quickly remind ourselves of. And it is said that if you have the number of elements in, let us say we're dealing with set A and B, in A union B, it is equal to the number of elements in set A plus the number of elements in set B minus the number of elements in A intersect B. Also, we could transpose. What if I wanted to find the number of elements in the intersection? You could simply transpose, because the number of elements in A intersect B is going to be similar. The number of elements in A plus the number of elements in B minus the number of elements in A union B. So you should look, if we're trying to find the union, you'll add up the number of sets and you subtract the intersection. But if you're trying to find the number of elements in the intersection, you'll add up the number of elements in the sets, then you subtract the union. So we're going to be using that, and it's used quite a lot in these sort of exams. So let us take a quick look. So in this case, then what we're suggesting is that the number of elements in the union of X and Y is going to equal to 7 plus 5, and then you take 3 from that. So that's 12 minus 3. And we're looking for 9 as the union. And this is B right there. All right. Another set question. Item 14 refers to a Venn diagram below. If P is equal to factors of 6, Q factors of 4, then the shaded region. And you want to look to see that this shaded region that they have here is what we will call the intersection of P and Q. So we're looking at the intersection. They want to know, based on the context of what we have, what is going to be our intersection, right? What's going to be our intersection? All right. So what we want to do quickly is to list the factors of 6. Factors of 6 are as follows: 6, 3, 2, 1. All right. Factors of 4. Factors of 4 are as follows: 4, 2, 1. And the shaded region is representing where P would have intersect with Q. What are the elements that are in both sets? There are sharings between the two sets. You realize that we're dealing with 2 and 1. So then that's the intersection. 2 and 1. There you go. So the answer is B. All right, let us jump at question 50. It's a foreign exchange question. It says if Trinidad and Tobago $6 is equivalent to US $1, then Trinidad and Tobago $15 in US dollar is what? Remember, for every 6 Trinidad dollar, it's just 1 US. So repeated subtraction can be seen as division, which means then that we can employ division here as a way of finding out. And look, it's a multiple choice exam. So basically, it's going to be 15, and you want to divide that by 6. So you could say 6 into itself 1 time, 6 into 15 2 times, and remainder 3, which is 3 over 6, which is 0.5. So we're seeing then that this is the answer for that question, right? So if I have 15 Trinidad dollars based on the exchange rate that I'm looking at, where 6 Trinidad dollar is 1 US, then I would end up getting $2.50. Question 16, percentage tax. A man's taxable income is 15,200. He pays tax at the rate of 25%. The amount of income tax he pays is what? So he's paying tax at the rate of 25%. Again, because of the context of a multiple choice, we want to understand that 25% is a quarter. All right, because then where did that come from? It came from the fact that 25% means 25 over 100. And if you should cancel 25 into itself once, 25 into 100, 4. So indirectly, we can just simply say, oh, 25% is just a quarter. So I can just easily ease myself in with that. That means if I find a quarter of 15,200, which means that I need to divide by 4, because a quarter is to split something into 4 equal pieces. So you want to divide that by 4. 4 into itself 1, 4 into 15, 3, right? And carry the 3, and 4 into 32, 8, 4 into 0, 0, 0. So we're looking at 3,800. And that is B. Number 17 says, at the end of any year, a car is worth 5% less. So we want to appreciate the fact that the value of the car is going down by 5%. So the value of the car is going down by 5% at the end of every year. Now, if a car was worth $10,000 in January, then its value in December of that same year will be what? 5% of this will come off. Now, well, 5%, you could work this out easily. I could show you a quick trick, but you could say 5%. of 10,000. So 2 zeros at the end, take off 2 zeros. So we have 5 times 100. This is going to give you 500. So 500 would come off. So you're talking about 10,000 minus 500. And then you would have seen that you have 9,500 would have been the value of the car in December. Right? Let me circle the right thing. Now, what you could do as well is to help yourself. You could go a little faster in these exams. 10%. Most questions is set up with a base of 10% as a multiple of the things that you're dealing with. For example, if we say we have 10,000, 10% of 10,000. When we say 10%, basically what we're saying is all you have to do is to take off the zero at the back and you get 10%. So 10% of 10,000 is $1,000. So it's just to drop off a zero at the back if you have a zero at the back. And they always set up the questions with zeros at the back because they know you don't have a calculator. So you drop off a zero at the back and that's 10%. Then if you know 10%, then what is 5%? The relationship between 10 and 5 is a half. So a half of this will give us 500. So you're seeing that 500 would have been the 5%. So basically you could easily take it off, you know, and understand that you're subtracting 500 from the 10,000. Hence, you would have picked up your 9,500 as your answer. So you could use various things that you want to use as you go forward. Question 18 says, Tom bought a pen for $60 and sold it to gain 20% on his cost price. How much should he gain? How much money did he gain? All right, so this question is asking you, what is 20% of 60? You can do this the regular way, 20% of 60. Well, zero cancels zero there. 10 into itself one time and 10 into 22. 2 times 6 give you 12. And you would have picked the answer here. You would have gained $12. Another way you could have picked up 12 easily is to apply the idea of 10% and then relate it to 20. Because 10 is simply half of 20, or 20 is 2 times 10. What do I mean? If I know that $60 is the entire thing, 10% of this is 6, which means that 20 would mean to double the 10 and you would have gotten 12, which would have been the same answer we're picking right here. All right, let's look at question 19. Question 19 says, Mr. Duncan bought a table at a discount of 30%. So we want to look at this carefully. The discount that was given was 30%, thus saving $42. What was the mark price? Now, in a multiple choice exam, I don't think you should be stressing over setting up an algebraic thing. You still can utilize your 10% because 30 is simply 3 times 10. Now, let us look at it like this. If 30% is equivalent to $42, then am I able to find 10%? Yes, we can. All we have to do is to divide by 3. If we divide, because the relationship between 30 to 10, it's a third of it, which means to divide by 3. So 10% is simply $14. Now, if I know 10%, then 100% would mean to add a 0 at the end. So you think of the reverse. If I take off a 0 from 100% to get 10%, then I can simply add a 0 on the 10% to get back 100%. So the multiple choices, they are like that. So the answer would have been $140 for that original price there. All righty, let's jump on to question 20. Question 20 is a simple interest question, and it reads, if the simple interest on $800 for 3 years is $54, what is the rate of interest per annum? Right? So the thing is, they want the rate. The rate. Again, if the simple interest on $800, all right, for 3 years is 54. What's the rate of interest? So let us look at this. Anyways, let us say you remember the formula. The rate is simply your interest times 100 over your P times your T, all right? So you would have said, all right, $54 times 100 over 800 is your P, which is the money you start with. The time is 3. Let's say we are employing some canceling easily. 100 into itself 1 time, 100 into 800, that's 8. So we could go 54 divided by 3 is 18. So 3 into itself 1, we get 18. So we're looking at 18 over 8. And if you break that down, you'll end up with 9 over 4. 9 over 4, all right? So 9 over 4 is actually 2 and 1/4 as a percentage, all right? So that's 2 1/4, and you're seeing it right here, all right? So you're breaking it down, utilizing the formula, and you take it down to that. All right, let's quickly look at question 21. 21 says, at a sale, each book was marked $3 off. So remember, $3 off the original. So $3 less. Daniel paid $46 for 2 books. What was the original price? Well, we could utilize the idea that was given. 1 book, $3 come off it. So that means if he bought 2 books, then he got $6 off, right? Because $3 would have come off 1. So $6 came off everything all together. So if you were looking at it and you said, okay, let's add that 6 to the 46, we would have known that this person would have paid $52 for the 2 books. But they want to know the cost for 1. You divide this by 2. You get $26 for 1 book. That's one way of doing it. What if you wanted to approach it another way? You could split the 46 early and said, okay, let's divide this into 2. And you will be looking at $23 after the $3 was taken off. So you could add back the 3 to get the original price of $26. So whichever way you want to approach these questions, there are diverse ways of getting there. The answers are definitely the same. Question 22. If $7,000 is borrowed at a rate of 5% per annum for 3 years, the simple interest is what? So there are a number of ways you could work this. Let us just look at simple interest can be easily calculated by putting the principal times the rate times the time over 100. So if we remember this, definitely 7,000 times the rate, which is 5, times the time, which is 3 years, divide this by 100. We could do our quick canceling there. 100 into itself one time, and 100 into 7,000, that's 70. So we could go about multiplying these. 70 times 5, then multiply that by 3. All right, so we could simply work those out easily and would get 1,050. And this response would have been D here, 1,050. All right, let's look at 23. Yeah. 23 says 7 times the product of two numbers. 7 times the product of two numbers, A and B, may be written as. Well, basically, product means to multiply. 7 times the product of A and B. 7 times A times B. We would have gotten 7AB. Now, 24 says if X is an integer that satisfies the inequality, then, in other words, if we have 4 less than 2x, which is less than or equal to 6, our intention is to find a value for x. All we want to do is simply solve this problem ordinarily. We're going to divide by 2 throughout. So then we would have had 2 there. This would cancel x here. This would cancel 3 there. So x is greater than 2, less than or equal to 3. We're looking at number 1 for the answer. Number 25. Five into 2x minus 1 is equal to 35. So we want to solve this ordinarily. So we're going to distribute the 5 and then sort this out. So 5 times that is going to give us 10x. 5 times negative 1 is going to give negative 5, and this is equal to 35. 10x. We're going to be adding 5 to both sides to get rid of that 5. Divide by 10, and then x is definitely 4. X is 4 right there. (26). We're looking at 3x raised to the second times 2x raised to the third. When you multiply the same letters, the law of indices suggested that we will add their power. So basically, 3 2's will give us a 6. But we have an x to the second multiplying by x to the third. So you add their powers. So we have 6x raised to the 5th. And the answer is at A. Number 27. If x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2, what is the value of? And we want to employ substitution here. X squared plus 3y all over xy. So we're going to employ substitution for x and y. X is 4, so we're having 4 squared plus 3 times y, and y is 2 over 4 times 2. 16 plus 6 over 8, and that will leave us with 22 over 8, or 11 over 4, and that is 2 times, and remainder 3 over 4. So we're looking for this. All right, so here we go again. The sum of two positive integers, P and Q, is 32. The difference is 12. What is the smaller? Well, we could set up a system. You could try numbers, fine. You could even try these, but you could just set up a system. They did say the sum of P and Q. All right, so P plus Q is equal to 32. Difference, P minus Q, is equal to 12. We could just embark on this idea and write it out. So we could add. So if we add these two systems that we have here, so I'll be adding positive 2, negative 2. So that's going to go. I'll end up with 2P, which is equal to, I think this is about 44. From this, I'm able to find P, divide both sides by the 2. P is equal to 22. All right. So P is equal to 22. Then you could use one of two things, because if they add to give 32, that means the next number is 10, because I could say 32 minus 22, and that's 10. So we're looking at one of the number is 10 and one is 22. But context of the question really said, what is the smaller? So the smaller of the two would have been 10. So we have to put the things in the right perspective as we go forward. So the answer is 10 would be the smaller. Number 29. When 6 is added to a number and the sum is divided by 3, the result is 4. This statement written in mathematical symbols is, all right, one has to just take their time, read the question. So we're at 29. We're going to follow the key things here. When 6 is added to a number, so let's make up this number, X. So when 6 is added to X and the sum is divided by 3, the sum. So the sum of this is to draw a line all the way on the 6 and the X. And the sum is divided by 3. They did say the result is, which refers to equal 4. We're looking for that. So 6 plus X all over 3 equal 4 is the response. A. Number 30. The volume of a cube is 10 cm. The volume of a cube with, oh, my bad. The volume of a cube with edge 10 cm is, a cube is a simply box-looking thing with all the sides being the same length, where this is 10, this is 10, this is 10. And we know that the volume of a cube is simply area of the cross section times the height. In this case, I'm picking the base here times the height. So we're going to multiply these 10 times the 10 times the 10, and we're getting 1,000 cm cube. D. Question 31. If 3 plus 2 over x is equal to 1, the value of x is what? We're going to be solving this ordinarily. We have 3 plus 2 over x, which is 1. We could simply subtract the 3 from both sides. All right, so 2 over x is equal to 1 minus 3. You're not getting the variable by itself, so we would have subtracted 3 from both sides. So if you want to feel comfortable, we would have subtracted there. Hence, we had to subtract it over there. So what we're looking at is, at this moment, we're looking at 2 over x is equal to negative 2. 2 over x is equal to negative 2. I'm seeing negative 1, but depending on how you want to work this, it's up to you. All right. So basically, you could say to yourself, 2 divided by what number? Give me negative 2. It's negative 1 because we're in a multiple choice exam. We could mentally do this here, that x is equal to negative 1. 2 divided by what number? So 2 divided by what number? That would have resulted in a negative 2. Has to be negative 1. So the answer would have been A. All right, 32 says, how many kilograms are there in a ton? And this is something that you just need to know offhand. This is always 1,000. 33. AOB is a sector of a circle such that AOB equals 60 degrees and OB is R units long. The area of AOB is what? Now, when you look at the responses that they have here, you will definitely see that it's not like they want a numeric value, like variables are in your answers. So basically, they want to know whether or not you're able to set up the right formula. Now, the formula is given on the formula sheet. The area of sector is simply the sector angle. So we're talking about the sector angle over 360 pi r square. So basically, it's 60 divided by 360 pi r square. You could cancel 6 into itself 1, 6 into that 6. So the answer is 16 pi r square. And we're seeing that at A right there. 34. Item 34 refers to the figure below, which shows a triangle resting on a square. So the question says, the length of one side of the square is 5 and the height of the triangle is 4. What is the total area of the figure? All right. So what we want to do is to find the area of the triangle, find the area of the square, and we're going to add them. Remember, though, that if they gave us this as a square, it means all the sides are equal, which means that the base of the triangle, I would have gone. All right, so I could now simply find them. So let us work on the triangular part. Remember that the formula is half base times height. So it's going to be half 5 times 4. 5 times 4 will give us 20 over 2. This part is actually 10. All right, so for the square, the area of the square is simple. It's actually L squared, which is the length times itself. When we're looking at 25, combining the two results, 25 and 35 to be added, 25 and 10 to be added, the result is 35. Question 35 says, which of the figures below, not drawn to scale, has an area equal to half 5 plus 4 times 2? All right, this question is based on the fact that there is a particular formula to find the trapezium, the area of a trapezium, where one has to remember that the formula says, so if I should just quickly put a trapezium here. So let us call this A, let us call this B, and its perpendicular height, I'm going to call this H. The formula says half the sum of the parallel side, half the sum of the parallel side. So A and B are parallel, half of that, and you're going to multiply that by H. You're looking for that idea here. So 5 and 4, the parallel side. So that's out. B and C, it looks like it. And then now we have to be looking to see which of these match up, and D. So you're looking and you're seeing 5 plus 4. When you look at D, the 5 and the 4, and the height is 2. So we would be looking for half 5 plus the 4, and you multiply that by 2. That is what we're looking for, and it's definitely there. So D is the answer. So it's whether or not you know the formula for the area of a trapezium. A car travels 800 kilometers in 2.5 hours. So they were giving the speed, you know, the rate at which it is traveling. What is the speed in kilometers per hour? Now you could think out this. It's traveling 80 kilometers in 2.5 hours. So, all right, I would want to convert my 2.5 hours to an improper fraction so that I could work easier, right? And this is going to give me 5 over 2. All right, so I'm converting the 2.5 to improper fraction. So it's 5 over 2. So it simply means then, if I want to know the speed of this, I want to divide this 80 by 5 over 2, which means that I will actually, in the end, multiply 80 by 2 over 5. So you could see, I could simply just employ some quick canceling. All right, so 1, 5 into 12, 1, 5 into this goes 8. 8 times, hold on. Let me fix this. 5 into 12, 1, 5 into the 80 goes 16. 16 times 2, 32. And this is the answer right there. Right. The area of a rectangle is 53.6. If the length is multiplied by 4 and the width is half, the area would then be what? When we're talking about a rectangle is length times width. What this is saying indirectly is length times width was 53.6. Now, if we're going to have, so this is what we had originally. And then now we're going to alter this. So let us look at how we altered it. It says that if the length is multiplied by 4, so now we have 4L times, and the width is half, then we have W over 2. What's going to be our new area? What we want to do is to see what really happened on the left side. So let us employ some quick canceling right now. 2 into itself 1 time, and 2 into 4 2 times. Let's rewrite this. We're looking at 2LW. Now, if you really look at the original thing, it was just LW. And now we have 2LW. So it simply means that my final response will double as well. So this is what we're focusing on here. This was double. So we're going to have to double the 53.6, and it's going to take us to multiplying that by 2. There it is, 53.6 times 2. All right, and we're going to get 107.2. So here is the response. Right there. All right. Question 38. A man leaves home 10:15. Oh, not my bad. Well, technically, 22:15 hours and reaches this in the same destination. If this is a man leaves home 22:15 hours and reaches his destination at 400 hours the following day in the same time zone. How many hours did he journey? You could simply walk yourself to it. 22 to 23. Then we get 0:15, 1:15, 2:15, 3:15, and then there'll be an extra 45 minutes to link it to 4. So 1 hour, taking off that because that's your start time. So we could say 1 hour would have passed, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours and 45 minutes, which is 3/4 of an hour. So it's 5 hours and 3/4 right there. You could just take your time, work it out. There are so many things you could do. The perimeter of a square is 48 centimeters. What is the area in centimeters? Concept of a square. Talking about all the sides are equal. So then, if the perimeter of the square is 48, then, and it is a square, if I divide it by 4, I'm getting 12, which means that one of the length is 12, right? But the area is what they want. So it's going to be 12 a square, which is 144. The answer is D. Among a group of employees, the highest paid received a weekly wage of $105.40. If the range of wages is $27.50, how much does the lowest paid employee receive? You want to understand what range refers to. Range R for me is equal to H for highest minus L for lowest. This is the idea behind range. Your range, I use R for it, is equal to your highest, I use H, minus your lowest, I use L. So you could see what they're saying here. Simply, the range, which was $27.50, all right, is equal to the highest, which is $105.40. So if I want to find the lowest, I could just simply transpose, meaning I would switch, sorry, marking up my stuff. So I want to say I wanted to switch the L with that. So basically the lowest is equal to 105.40, and I'm going to take away 27.50. That's what we're saying. So if you do that, you're finding the lowest. And we're looking at $77.90. And if you could check it backwards if you want, you should subtract 105.40 and take the 77.90 from it. You would have seen the range coming up. So you can utilize that statistic formula to help you to find that. Item 41 refers to the information below, which shows the scores obtained by 11 footballers in a goal shoot competition. The modal score. The mode refers to the most frequently occurred data. And in this context, I'm seeing a 3, one more 3, one more 3. There's nothing else as competitive as it. I see 8, I see 6, but not. So 3 is the mode, occurs the most right there. 42. A bag contains 2 red, 4 yellow, and 6 blue marbles of similar size and shape. The probability of drawing a blue marble from the bag at random is what? What is probability? Probability is simply the desired outcome divided by that total possibility, or what you would call sample space. So I'm going to write total possibility. Which is the sample space, the total. So what we're saying is, watch this now. Desired outcome, probability of drawing a blue. How many blues? 6. 6 is on top, over the total. 4 plus 2, 6 plus that, 12. So then this can be, so if you did not see 6 over 12, you can break it down. You'll get a half. 6 into itself, 1. 6 into the 12, 2. You look for this as well, right? So 6 over 12 or 1 over 2. That's the probability of picking up a blue ball. Next question. Item 43 refers to item 43 refers to the bar chart below, which shows the ages of children who took part in a survey. Ages of children who took part in a survey. Ages. So if you observe the axis carefully, the number of children on the y-axis, the ages on the x-axis. All right. So we're seeing that number of children over there, the ages. So question, how many children took part in the survey? We could look. Number of children, see them here? We have some 4-year-old. 4-year-old, how many 4-year-olds? 3. How many 5-year-olds? 4. Because the thing is, the number of children. So if you want to know how many, this is where you're going to take it. So we're saying 4-year-olds, 3, 5-year-olds, 4, adding that, 6-year-olds, 2, 7 years old, adding 5, 8 years old, you're adding 1. So we need to add up, find the sum of this. So then we could quickly speak to it, 7, 9, 10, 15. So you could quickly add up the numbers that you get, and you realize that there are 15 of them right there. 3 of them are 4-year-old, 4 of them are 5, 5 of them 7, and there's 1 person is 8. Let's go to 44. Item 44 refers to the pie chart below, which shows the preference in drinks of a group of students. All right, so we're looking at orange, pineapple, chocolate, and milk. And the only number we got up there was 120 that is related to milk. The question says, if 12 students prefer chocolate, then the total number of students, we could attempt this question a number of ways. one of the things that we could do is to simply fill out this, because a semicircle is 180 degrees, which suggests that that chocolate sector is 60 degrees, and 60 degrees linked to 12. Now, as in it links to 12 students, we can now use this to solve the problem, because 60, if I could say how many 60 I could get out of that 360. For example, if I have 360 here, so I'm quickly taking out my circle. So I have 60. How many 60 can I get out of that 360? If I'm able to quickly say, okay, I have 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60. So I could get it 6 times. I got it 6 times. Each time I got it, it was 12 students, 12, 12, because 60 is representing 12 students. So I could say, oh, times 12, huh? 60 times 12, I'll get 72. So right there, it's 72 overall. It's one approach. So we're seeing where 72 is the answer. But I could have done it another way, right? Could have looked at it like this. We could have looked at it and say, this is 60. We found out that. Then you could say the 20 plus the 60. That is a half of the thing, which is 180. But in terms of the number of students, this is 12. And 60 is a half of 120. So this is 24. Oh, that means half of this is equivalent to 36. So if I double it, I get 72 the same. So there are various ways that we could get there, man. Various ways that you could get there. Of 120 students writing an examination or exam, 100 are expected to pass. The estimated probability that a randomly selected student will fail the exam is what? Now, we could look at this more than one ways, but let us look at it probably the quickest way. If you know that 100 will pass, so we're talking about 100 that will pass out of 120, it means that 20 will fail. So we could look at it from that angle, since the question is actually saying that the estimate probability that the student select a random will fail. It's going to be 20 out of the 120 that would have failed. Those numbers are not here, but you can simply break it down. For example, take off the 0 there, this into 2 into itself 1, 2 into 12, 6. We're looking for 1, 6, and the answer is at 8. All right, so I mean, you could take your time, look at the question, make sure that you see what they're asking about, then you move forward. (46) Which of the following diagram illustrate a function? Well, in order to deal with this question, we definitely need to understand what a function is. Now, when you're talking about a function will definitely tell you that the or we could say that the numbers from your domain, which would have been where the arrow is coming from. Remember too, that the arrow only come from the X going towards the Y. And based on how I see this, that means these are all X and this is Y. X and this is Y. X and this is Y. X and this is Y, because the arrow is pointing towards. So the arrow is always pointing towards Y. Doesn't matter how they set it, the arrow points towards Y. We're suggesting that each X value must only have one Y value. So in other words then, only one arrow can leave the X, go towards the Y. So if you see a particular element from the x with more than one arrows moving from where it is, it's not a function. For example, this would have spoiled it, not a function. This would have spoiled that one, not a function. This would have spoiled that one, not a function. And if you observe this, which is D, which is the answer, you're seeing that we only have one thing coming from that element, one coming from here, one coming from there. So please do not worry about what they go towards. For example, somebody might say, but two things over here, oh, that has nothing to do with the function. The function is saying, let us observe how many arrows are leaving my x. Only one arrow could leave your x for it to be a function, right? So it means then that each of these items on your domain, which is your x value, they will have their specific thing over there. We are not saying they are the only one who would have that y value, but they only have one, and that's it. Let's go to the next, 47. Item 47 refers to the diagram below. The graph of the inequality in the diagram is defined by, now firstly, you want to observe some key things. One is that we have an open circle here, open end. It's not shaded, which means that this is not the answer, that's not the answer. Because whenever you shade, you're speaking to either this or that. The moment the circle is shaded. So you realize that this circle here is not shaded. That means it's either this or that. Now let's look. We're moving from 1, yeah, and we're heading towards those numbers, which means that those numbers are less than 1. 0, -1, -2, -3 to infinity. So you're looking for a response that says that x is less than 1. 48. If f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 1, then f of -3. What we're doing here is that we want to evaluate f of -3. F of x is equal to 2x squared minus 1. F of -3 is equal to 2 times -3 squared minus 1. Whenever you're evaluating a function, we're simply substituting the value where x is, and then we carry out our algebra. So in this case, we're talking about 2 should multiply by 9 minus 1. 18 minus 1, the answer is 17. Now, for somebody who might think the answer is -19, please remember that whenever you square a negative number, for example, -3 times -3, when two negatives multiply, you will get a positive, right? So bear that in mind. So the answer is 17, not -19. We're at 49. The question says item 49 refers to the graph below. So we're looking at the graph. We're seeing A and B. Some intercepts going on right there. X intercepts, Y intercept. This is my X intercept right there. I'm seeing the Y intercept right here. The straight line AB cuts the y-axis at, well, you could look, cut the y-axis at -2, but they are asking for a coordinate based on how this is set up for all y-intercept. So the clue is for my y-intercept, x is always a 0, and you put the y value there. For the x-intercept, the x value is there, but the y is always a 0. And we want to note those, right? So in this context, at -2, so it's going to be D, because 0 with -2 is a value on the y-axis. Number 50. What is the gradient of a straight line here? So after this straight line, in order to name the gradient, we don't want to name it in this format. This is in standard form. Whenever you're going to name the gradient, it must be in the slope-intercept form. Slope refers to gradient. And imagine if you put it in the slope-intercept form, you will be able to see the slope as well as the intercept, but we're focusing on the slope. So what you want to do is to take this that is in standard form and transpose so that the y is by itself. So what we want to do now is have 2y, which is going to equal to negative 3x minus 8. Then we're going to divide everything by 2. At the end of the day, y is now by itself, negative 3 over 2x minus 4. Remember that the gradient is the coefficient or the number in front of the value, the x should say. Let's go again. Remember that the gradient is the number in front of the x. So negative 3 over 2 is the answer. Item 51 refers to the following diagram of a function. Which of the following statements best describes the function? So what you want to do is to observe these. We're going to be observing these values and in respect to how they produce the other numbers on the other side. So we're going to be looking at that, and then we're going to come up with one thing that suits all. Now you could quickly try them, you could look, or you could try them. Like you could say, all right, x is equal to y plus 3, right? X is equal to y plus 3. In other words, if I take this y and add 3 to it, do I get x? No. So this is incorrect. Y is equal to 2 times x plus 1. So if I multiply that by 2 and then add 1, do I get that? Yes. If I multiply this by 2 and then add 1, do I get that? No. Because 2 times 5 gives me 10. And if I add 1, it's not 8. The moment 1 is wrong, everything else is wrong. 3 minus x. Oh, so if I say 3 minus 8, do I get 11? No, that means this is incorrect. So by default, without checking, the last one is the answer, because in an elimination method, whenever you're eliminating, the moment you eliminated 3, then the last one is the answer. But you could check. X plus 3. 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 3, 11. 11 plus 3, 14. I was suggesting that you never needed to check it. Why? Because it's the last answer, which means that it would have to be correct, unless there would have been no answer for this. All right, number 52. It says if the sum of the interior angles of a polygon is 4 angles, 4 right angles, then the polygon is what? So you're looking at a quadrilateral, so this is not. Quadrilateral is a 4-sided thing, so that's it. All right, everything else is not a quadrilateral. Item 53 refers to the following diagram. And we're seeing here, we're told that A and C are parallel. That means this line is parallel to that line. Which of the following best describes the relation between X and Y? What they are, we'll say that they are equal, because this is what we call Z angle or alternate angles, proper name. So Z angles are equal. So whenever we have a parallel line, you know, cut by a transversal, yeah, then those angles that form in the shape of a Z, they're always equal. It's called alternate angles. 54. The item 54 refers to the triangle below. In the triangle, the value of X is, so we're saying here, the value of X. The total angle in a triangle is 180 degrees. We want to remember that. So therefore, that third angle that I want to find has to be 180 minus the sum of these two angles. So 180 minus 60 will give us 120 degrees. So this is 120 degrees right here. Item 55. The image of the point P, negative 3, 2, under the translation under the translation 2, 1 is what? All right. So basically then, all you have to do is remember this formula, that your object plus a translation always give the image. This is like a general formula that we can use. So what it means then, it says the image of the point P. So the image of the point E is, we don't know it. It's a question mark. So the image of the point P. So we have the object, which is negative 3, 2 plus 2, 1 equals to, do your adding of matrices. Negative 3 plus 2, 2 plus 1. And that is equal to negative 1, 3. Now, this is in a vector format. The answer has to be represented as a coordinate, so it's negative 1, 3. The answer is D. (56) Item 56 refers to the following diagram. How many triangles congruent to ADE would be needed to cover the rectangle ABCD entirely? Well, there are a number of approaches. One of the approaches that we could take is to literally just fill this out quickly, produce these shapes to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so you would have gotten 6 of them from that. Another way you could have done it is to use area. For example, this is a triangle, so this is 2 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6. Could work out the area of that triangle, which is 6 times 2 over 2, and you will get 6. All right, so it's 6 units. All right, so that's for the triangle, 6 units. And then you could look at the square. Let me just mark the square. Talking about there, 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 and there. And it's 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. So the area of this is 36 because it's 6 times 6 would have given you the area 36, right? So then what we could do as well is to say 36, let's divide that up into 6, and you would have gotten 6. So you could have gotten 6 in various ways you want to put it together. Could use area or you could count them. 57. Item 57 refers to the triangle ABC below. In the triangle, not drawn to scale, angle BAC is 30, which is this angle that you're looking at. Angle AB is, no, side AB is 40, this. The length BC in meters is all right, so let's check this out. All right, so we want to find the length BC, which is this side here. It's a right angle triangle noted here. We see this. So what we want to do is simply apply the trig ratios. The side that we're asked to find it is opposite to the angle. So we have the opposite in the mix, and then we have the hypotenuse in the mix. So it is sine. All right, remember the little phrase we use, so, ka, toa, and we're dealing with this one, opposite and hypotenuse. So then the sine of 30 degrees is equal to BC divided by 40. And if we want to find BC, multiply 40. So 40 sine 30 is BC. We're looking for that. And the answer is A. 58. Item 58 refers to the triangle LMN below. Now, triangle LMN is rotated in a clockwise direction, which is to move like the hand of the clock, that direction, going around like that. And L through, all right, clockwise direction about L, which means that L, that's the center of the rotation, should say, through 90 degrees. So then if it's going to move in 90 degrees, one of the little trick about 90-degree motion is that when you're rotating through 90, you can always look for vertical and horizontal lines, because this is a trick. All horizontal lines become vertical. So if this is AB, it becomes A, B. So all horizontal lines actually become vertical, and all vertical lines, they become horizontal. So you kind of look, you can look out for that, you know, plus have the orientation in your minds as well. So it's going around 90 degrees. So you see this LM, I'm looking for L at the top and N down here, based on the fact that it's going to go around like that. Expecting it to look like that, with M somewhere there, right? Because we're focusing on this, becomes this. And remember, it's just 90 degrees, all right? So this would have been the appropriate one. So this one is B. '59. A plane is flying in the direction of 40 degrees and changes course in a clockwise direction to 135. The angle through which the plane turned. So it's a bearing, quick thinking. So we're suggesting that what you could do is to subtract the two. All right. So if you have 135 and you subtract that 40, it's going to tell you the angle through which it turned, and you'd have got 90 here. We subtract to find that based on the idea, because both of them would have started on the north line like this. So you have 45 that goes there, and the 135 still start here to come here. You understand? So you want to know what is the extra that was turned. So you want to know just this piece here. So it means then that if one is 135 and the other one is 45, you subtract them to see the angle, the extra angle that was turned. All right, last one now. It says, so we're looking at this diagram up there. A prime, B prime, C prime is the image of ABC under an enlargement of scale factor 2. The area of A prime, B prime, C prime is what? All right, when you're going to find, all right, if I know the area, well, you can do two things. You can blow this up and find it, or you could check it. So if it's going to be enlarged, a scale factor of 2, everything is going to double. So from A to B will now be A to B. B will become there. Why? Because it's 1, 2 units, it's going to go 4. So B is all the way up here now. C is 2 units from A, it's going to be all the way out here. So basically you're looking at that. So we're talking about this new shape here. So basically then what we're looking at is 4 times 4, as in the side length, because if you're counting these, let's say if I could count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 4s will give us 16, and you divide that by 2, you will get 8. All right, so the area of that is 8. Another thing that we could have done was to understand that, so that's one way. Another thing that we could have done was to understand the relationship between area when you enlarge. So when dilation takes place, you have to square the area. So K is the scale factor, all right? And this is to move one length to the next. So this is to move length. So if you're going to do area, your scale factor would have to be squared. So this 2 will become 2 square, which is going to become 4. So the scale factor to move one area to another area now, in this case, is 4 and not 2, because 2 is for length. So then if I go back and say, let us look at the length. So I'm just giving an alternate method. If I look at the area of the original one, check it out. The area of this is, this side is 2, this side is 2. You will say 2 times 2, you get 4, divided by 2, you get 2. So the area is 2. So then, to change this smaller one to a bigger one, you multiply that 2 by the scale factor. So the scale factor for area is 4. So the new area is 4 times 2, which is 8. Still get back the same answer. Now, so that's basically what happened. The general formula is this, that scale factor is equal to image over object. Any relative or related image idea over a related object idea give you a scale factor. But because you were dealing with area, you have to square it. So when they gave you the scale factor of 2 and they ask you an area question, you can't work with 2 anymore. It becomes 4 because it becomes not 2 times 2 by doubling it. It's 2 square. So if it were 6 as the scale factor and you're going to do area, it becomes 36. That's what we're saying. You square it.